private well owners to test their water. Period. To take an interest in it. And the one presentation I do now, like the next time I'm doing it is November 4th, it's called Getting the Waters Tested, the Marcellus Shale Factor. And the idea behind that is, up until really recently, private well owners took for granted the water quality, and had no idea of the actual quality of their water. So for 20 years, that's what I did, private well testing. I ran a certified laboratory at Wilkes, and I can guarantee you that, and I can say this with confidence, that somewhere between 30 and 50% of private well owners in Pennsylvania drink water that doesn't meet a drinking water standard. And I'm not saying that there's iron in it or there's manganese in it. That's a secondary drinking water standard. For aesthetics, I mean there's bacteria, a primary drinking water standard, arsenic, a primary drinking water standard, where it can cause a health problem. And that's what I call the Marcellus Shale Factor, is these people did never make an effort in general to test their water. I think if you look at the Penn State study, I think, and I'm still reading it, so I might get the percentages wrong, but it's in there. I think they said somewhere around 10 to 15% of people tested their water at all. And I think it was less than 10% that knew anything about their well.
Why is it? What do you think?
Well, it's a disconnect. The disconnect is, one, it's when we look at a well, what we see is the top, and that's it. We don't see the vertical profile. The other disconnect is a lot of houses were built by builders. The builder was there, met with the people, say, hey, you got a house?
We assume everything's all right?
Everything's done right. This is how it is. There's your well. I mean, I also work in areas where septic systems. I do a lot of large volume. My biggest septic system is for Sanofi. It's about 300,000 gallons per day. I have people with septic systems that don't even know that big mound in the yard is their septic system until they dug into it and found sewage. I mean, they're not told this. They're given documents. They don't know this. And somebody has to talk about it. So for private wells, that's what I did for 23 years and talked about it. Marcellus Shale came in, and now the industry is testing people's water, handing them back reports that, if they include all the QC data, you know, it's a quarter-inch thick. And there's actually only 2 pages in that report that deals with their water. All the rest is data about data, and it's numbers. And the first thing that happens is, in general, people think their water is H2O. And that's it. That's all they think it's in it. You know, I talked to a woman on the phone. One of the things I still work on, I started when I was Wilkes, was what's called a Citizen Groundwater Surface Water Database. It's where citizens can submit certified testing data that either was done by a gas company or they paid for. We'd interpret for them, and we would add that to a spatial database that didn't include their name, address, or any really contact information. And there were people that said, well, I don't want to give the data up because I have methane in my water, or I have chloride in my water. And I said, well, you know, what's the number? And they go, oh, it's 10. You know, in that time, 10, you know, if you read the websites, you read newspaper articles, you know, that number 10 is in there, but they never looked at the units. You know, 10 milligrams per liter. You know, and their result was 10 parts per billion. You know, 1 milligram per liter is 1,000 parts per million. So if we get the units right, her level was 0.01. And she was scared. She didn't know what to do, and she didn't want to tell anybody that she already had this, and she didn't have a problem. So that's what I did, and I still do that. So that's the Marcellus Shale.